Aloha, friends and neighbors. Rollin Frost here, an astrologer living on the Kona coast of the Big Island. Whoa, lucky to be here. We're going to do show 915 for you. I'm going to start with the sky mirror. I'm going to cover the middle week of June 2014. And let's go day by day and figure out what's going on. The new moon, the last new moon you had, squared Neptune and trine Mars, so you could be doing a lot of physical stuff, cleaning everything up, huh? Not bad. There's a full moon coming up Thursday night at 6:13 p.m. High accident rate on any full moon. Okay, so Thursday night, extra caution coming home. Okay, looking at the big pattern here, I've drawn a chart for you. And the sun's in Gemini, finishing up the last part of Gemini, and then next weekend it goes into Cancer and becomes more stressful in a way too. Mars is still making trouble. At the end of next week he's at 13, Pluto's at 13, Uranus is at 16. You know, the Grand Cross has come down to a T-square here, just 3 guys on the angle, and that can actually be more hazardous. So young Martians aren't done. There could be more students and young people and fires and fights. We're going to look at this day by day for you, and I guess what first thing is, here's Neptune. And Neptune slowed down and stopped. Yeah, it was just a few days ago for you, so it's still very strong. We're going to talk about it after the sky mirror. Let's take a look at it day by day, what's going on for you. If you're on a Thursday show, the moon's still in Sagittarius here, and you're probably feeling okay about things, but what the Friday the 13th, huh? Yep. Moon's in Capricorn, and you know that the cardinal signs, Capricorn, Aries, Libra, Cancer, are where this tension and this Mars and these violent things and anger all are, and everybody gets stuck or they get turned into the god of war. Starts early Friday morning when the moon opposes Mercury. Mercury's still retrograde, yeah. And so there's confusion, difficulty communicating and getting around Friday morning, and it starts a roll through Friday and Saturday, kind of a poor bunch of planetary angles. You could be seduced a little bit into thinking it's all going to be fine, because here, Friday afternoon and evening, you have a sextile to Neptune. Good time for art and music and church and stuff like that, huh? It's in the afternoon, middle of the day, right through dinner. You could have some bells and chimes of your own going off. Sensitivity is up, but you know, don't drink, because you may have to defend yourself early Saturday morning. Here's Mars again in square at 13 degrees. Let's see, that's right here. Could be real late Friday night or early Saturday morning, and it starts with too much fire and heat. And what are you protecting yourself against? You better ask that question before you go off and go to war on something. And it's going to be very difficult to control, because as soon as you hit the Mars thing, just after Mars at 12 degrees comes Pluto at 13 degrees. And that's a lack of control and taking things to extremes. So we got extreme heat, fire, violence, young people, and guns. And eek, here's Uranus now, comes in at 16 degrees. And that's right here. So that's the middle of Saturday. And here we feel all alone. And people rage against Uranus. And here's the man with the machete out in the water, raging against the telephone utility. Here's a young man over here, Mars, feeling all alone, and decided to shoot everybody to take revenge. So here's the Uranus part of it all, and the sudden glitch, the non-reality is there pretty strong in the middle of Saturday, June 14th. So this is not an easy weekend, huh? It does get better Saturday night. Here's, son of a gun, here's a trine to Venus. You know, and this is happening after all the glitches of the middle of the day. You might get a little R&R here. And here's a sextile. Oh, is this what is it? Oh, it's an opposition. I marked it wrong. I thought something was funny here. Overdoing it. This is 10 o'clock Friday night, and the moon opposes Jupiter, and you ate too much and you're sorry, or you laughed too much and you're sorry. Yeah, Sunday, the moon's still in Capricorn. You may be going through the moods of Friday and Saturday still until you get to past breakfast anyway. Towards the middle of the day, the moon shifts into Aquarius, and it feels a lot better. Because once you're out of cardinal signs, the fighting and the heat tends to go down a little bit. The lack of control over Mars. What am I protecting? The moon in Aquarius is good for Mars here late Sunday night, and early Monday morning there's a trine to Mars. Get out and fix that stuff. What are you doing? Hanging around being angry and ticked off. Uranus is in sextile to Mars, and Uranus, oh, it's opposing Mars. Oh, yeah, the electrical problems. Here you are going to fix it and the battery's dead, or the plug don't work, or the motor doesn't run. So you're going to catch a lot of that on Saturday, but hopefully on Monday morning there's a sextile to Uranus and the motor does run and the battery works and you can do some of your repairs Monday morning. Not bad until you get to the middle of the day, and then here's a square to Saturn. Everything slows down and gets older and slower, and here's a square to Venus after that, about dinner time. Can't get no satisfaction, all slowed down, disappointed. The sweets weren't there. Monday afternoon. Tuesday morning early, here's a nice trine to the sun. You got some ambition, you're going to get out there and do something, and just after breakfast here sometime, the moon shifts into Pisces. And it's a whole different story. Here's Neptune. Neptune's still very strong. It's stationed well, anyway, when the moon goes by the planet, boy, it gets really strong. It's Tuesday night. There's the time for music, church, time to get your sensitivity up. Your sense of smell is up. All the sensitivities, you know, there's dreaminess here too. You could get cloudy. Don't get drunk. You'll miss all the high spiritual stuff. There's goodies here. Yeah. And Neptune has got some deep colors and tones, and Tuesday night is certainly a good time to do it. And raise your sensitivity up so you can begin to see more of this wonderful world we live in, instead of just the gray old thing with the cars and the roads and the signs. Good to be out in nature Tuesday afternoon and evening when the moon goes by Neptune. Hum a little song. Go out and sit around in trees. Try to get away from all this cement. That's what I would do. And you'll still feel it Wednesday morning. The moon's still in Pisces. You're not too far off. All the way through the beginning of Wednesday. In the afternoon, it starts to switch over to Venus stuff. There's a sextile to Venus here at 1 a.m. in the morning or so. And some of the high spiritual stuff turns into sexy sweets, if you're lucky. Probably you stayed up looking for it, because here on Thursday morning, the moon's still in Pisces, but there's a square to the sun and a square to Mercury, and we couldn't get up and we couldn't get going, and we lost our ambition, and communication, transportation didn't work well. Eek. And then when you get to the middle of Thursday, the moon goes into Aries, and you're back in cardinal signs, and the anger and testosterone starts to rise again. And Thursday might get through it all without sharps and hots, but you won't on Friday. Here we are on Friday. There's an opposition to Mars. Damn those young men. And a square to Pluto. Can't control the guns. And a conjunction to Uranus. 3rd, and that's, I feel isolated and alone. And here's Martians beating up on homeless people or environmentalists or whatever. But this is quite sharp in the middle of Friday. Maybe just a high wind will knock out your power and control. Something nice and light. You'll still be feeling it Saturday morning. Saturday morning, the moon's still in Aries, and there's a square to Jupiter, overdoing it around between breakfast and lunch here. And then the south node hits, and that's about the middle of the day. That's, the moon goes by the south node, we all feel like we need help. And finally, help arrives. It's about dinner time. There's a sextile to the sun. Ambition is back. Father's back. We can fix this stuff. Hooray! Moon goes into Taurus. Goes into Taurus here, and that'll feel a lot better, because first thing off, Sunday morning, here's a sextile to Venus. To Neptune. Go to church. See church on TV. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Don't listen to anybody else. Read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. At least Matthew, Mark. And remember when Jesus said heavens, it really says sky. One of my favorite people. Here's music, here's art, here's color, here's sensitivity. Train your sensitivity so that you can hear the mother and hear the father, and you won't be subject to all this confusion in our world over this stuff. So Sunday morning, go sit under the tree. Be with nature. Okay? It will teach you. There's discovery Sunday afternoon and evening. There's a trine to Pluto. Wow, what a neat day. It doesn't bog down till like midnight or so when the moon opposes Saturn, and whoops, no money, no time. What are we doing? It got cold. Still, not too bad. Here on Monday, in the evening, I see a sextile to Jupiter. There's some laughing. Anyway, that's the way it is. The middle of June, 2014. Okay, we're going to talk Neptune for a little bit here. And, Neptune stopped on the 9th. That was Monday night, as I recall. And so that's when it was very strong, and I hope you studied on it. But the moon goes by Neptune Tuesday night, coming up for you on June 17th. Remember on the sky mirror? Here it was. So the moon kind of sets it off, and there's Mother, becoming really sensitive, and is a wonderful time for, getting your sensitivity going. I'll get back to that. So what I did is I calculated when Neptune would be here on the rising sign, which is when your body gets most sensitive. And when Neptune was sextile from the 3rd house, it would look kind of like this, the chart. And those two times on each island are a little different. Okay, well, we're going to talk about June 17th now, and when you could reach a height of sensitivity, or the angels could visit you or something. So first is when Neptune sextiles the rising sign. And that turned out to be 7:45 p.m., at least if you're on the Big Island. Now, if you're in Honolulu, it changes a little bit. If you're in Kauai, it changes a little bit. Basically, you have to add 9 minutes for Honolulu, so this would be 7:54. See, and for Lihue, you actually have to add 15 minutes. So there's a little bit of sloppiness here on this depending on your location, but nevertheless, here, you know, you have a wonderful sextile, and the moon is right there. The moon's at 6:47, and Neptune's at 7:34, and this could be a neat time to go sit outside with the birds or something. Find an animal. Animals are what will kick up your telepathic abilities and things. Now, the moon actually conjuncts the rising sign here in Kona at 11:27. And of course we've got the same plus or minus 10 minutes here, 11:27 in Kona and Hilo, and you'll feel sensitive and maybe drunk, maybe an angel. Maybe you'll turn into Jesus for a little while. Anyway, 11:27 p.m. on Tuesday night the 17th. And then in Honolulu, see, that changed over to 11:36. That's a little bit later, 9 minutes later. So you have to allow a little orb here of when you're going to feel most sensitive about it all. Okay, there I encapsulated it a little bit better. Big Island, 11:27. Honolulu, 11:36. Lihue, 11:42. Now, I had planned for the rest of the show to give you the second half of looking for the Jesus chart. And it was important because I did an awful lot of work with Saturn and Jupiter. The wise men did their work with this. Neptune and Uranus, they weren't known then. They couldn't be seen. And they are the real occult enlightenment planets too. So checking up on the Jesus chart by using Neptune and Uranus was a necessary thing. And when I did it back in December 22, it turned out he was really more Uranus than he was Neptune. He wasn't a priest, artist, doctor, musician, no. He was a secular technical wizard. He was both. Yeah. Anyway, I gave that up. Instead, you're going to see something quite different. Now, I've been going after Neptune real strong here and identifying the people who are on our Earth. And, I call them priest, artist, doctor, musician. But, this is an occult force. When Neptune stations, usually the Pope comes out, the Christianity, religion in general, whether it be Muslim or Christian or Jewish or whatever, identify with the Neptune. Of course, Christianity was the two little fish, the Neptune religion. But I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of different colored fish. And what I've discovered is whether you're talking about actors on stage, the Neptune people, the gay people, the actors, the doctors, another form of actor maybe, the priests, artists, musicians. There's a lot of glitter, and sometimes it doesn't, it turns into bad fish. But they all have these things in common, and I think one of the things I've identified is they are telepathic. The sensitivity they have from Neptune comes from telepathy. Telepathy is a non-verbal thing. St. Francis said, you can't go to the Father till you've gone through the Mother, and the Mother teaches you telepathy. Well, if somebody else teaches you telepathy, are your pets. Animals, I've learned lately, even birds are telepathic, yes. Women have a great chance to train their own sensitivity and telepathy because of babies. But a lot of men get foxed out of that. And anyway, St. Francis, first thing he did was go after the animals. I'm sure he met his mother after that, and then his father. And that's what this story is all about. Noisy truck out there. Anyway, before I get into this story, this dialogue, actually it's my personal experience. I want to go back and reiterate that the first stage of St. Francis was animals. And if you want to train up your telepathy, look into the eyes of your dog or your cat. And you won't get words now. You'll get images and emotions and stuff. And that's kind of the way spirit comes in lots of times, is with that telepathy. So the more telepathic you are, and the more sensitive your telepathy, the more you're up to engaging Mother Mary and the Father and a whole lot of neat stuff. Of course, once you learn to smell better, and sense of smell is attached to this Neptune. When your Neptune is coming up, it's like you took a little bit of LSD, or a little bit of psilocybin, or a little bit of something that makes you more sensitive, and the colors get deeper. Well, your sense of smell goes way up right away. It's attached to some of these same higher senses of sensitivity. And, it's wonderful, smell the flowers, and you turn the corner and step in the dog shit. So there's two little fish on this Neptune trip we're about to talk about. But I want to just give you what happened to me in a nice, honest way. Okay, here's the testimony. I met my mother back when I had my first divorce. It looked like I was losing my profession and my home and my 3 sons and my wife and everything. And I was out in Nama Bay swimming by myself and snorkeling around, and I felt this universal love, this unconditional love just flooded me. Wow! I stopped swimming and I looked up, and there was the moon. The cloud parted and there was the moon. My introduction to my mother. Wow. I have a lot of reverence for that. Now, I already had a background in sensitivity with animals. I was raised with a German Shepherd, beautiful dog, and a couple cats, and we always had other animals around too. My parents, basically Norwegian Scandinavian types, came from a telepathic bunch, and so they made sure I had lots of animals around. So my sensitivity was high. And in my chart, I have Neptune trine the rising sign natally, so I had natural sensitivity. But I wasn't quite prepared for the next step. Must be 7-8 years later. I'm out in the ocean again. This time it's out above Kona. And again, I'm having a tough time in life. It must have been the second divorce and a challenge to my fatherhood, to keep my 4th son and my home. And anyway, I'm out there swimming along, and it's in the afternoon, and out of the clear blue comes a voice, and it says, like in my head, "I'm proud of you, my son." What? This wasn't, moon unconditional love. These are words. The words, "Proud of you, my son." I was stunned. I stopped. I looked up, and there was the sun. And the sun had these weird rays coming down, like the Japanese flag? That's what the sun was doing. Some clouds around, and it had these rays coming down. Wow. I had met my father. Yes. Now, it goes on. Lots of times he shows up and he looks a little in the first vision like my real father who died. Just like when the moon first started showing up in my life, it looked a little like my mom. But I learned pretty fast. My mom, my dad, they skated fast. These were just kind of masks that these guys used to wake you up a little bit. So, man, once I met my father, I started talking, and I had a relationship with the Father, the one Jesus talks about. So, next thing that happens, I tell you a startling story. I'm in the tub, I'm relaxed, and there suddenly is Father. And he says, "What can I do for you, my son?" And I said, "Oh, I don't need anything. I'm cool. You provide me everything. I don't need a thing." And then suddenly there was this knowing in my head. And the knowing was, here I had a son who was 10 or something, and geez, if I wanted to do something for him, and if he said, no, I don't need anything, no to your treats, well, it hurt. And Father gave me this message right away and said, I want to do something for you. What do you want? So I'm in the tub sitting there, and I thought, what's the thing I really want? And I said, gee, would you fix my eyes? I don't like wearing glasses. Okay, end of story coming up. It's quick. I thought there'd be a miraculous fixing of my eyes, and I was disappointed it didn't happen. But, a month later, I'm sitting in a chair, and the sun's coming through and I looked at the sun, and I looked at it, and looked at it, and looked at it, and then I thought, oh my God, I hurt my eyes. I'm looking at the direct sun too long. And I stopped. A couple of weeks later, I began to get cataracts. Cataracts got worse and worse and worse, both eyes. Wow. Next thing I knew, I didn't have any money, so I went to the VA, because I had some health stuff there, and they said, yeah, you got cataracts, we'll help you fix them, because it costs money for the most common operation in the U.S., cataracts. So anyway, after 6 months, my cataracts were really ripe, and Doc Young said, oh man, ripest I've ever seen. Well, it took 6 months for the VA to get the money. Anyway, I went in, I got the cataract operation. Gee, the world was clear as a bell. And you know what? I didn't know glasses. I didn't need glasses at all. No. I didn't need glasses at all. Well, actually, they asked me, what do you want? I said, 20/40. They said, well, you might want to have some reading glasses around. I said, fine, I want to be able to look down the road a little bit. I got 20/40 perfect vision, both eyes. Wonderful stuff. Well, it wasn't the miraculous healing I expected from the Bible. And Father, his attitude was, hey, you're dealing with physical stuff, you work through the physical world. Especially spirits like Mother and Father, with no corporality, no physicality at all. Anyway, I don't wear glasses, and I got really good eyesight, and I met my father, and it was, meeting my mother, and then years later, meeting my father is the biggest thing in my life. It's what I was looking for with astrology and all this other stuff. Pretty common to hear about people talking to their cats. My cat informed me. My horse talks. First step, develop your telepathy, develop your sensitivity, your Neptune, and start talking to Mother.